A very good morning, everyone, esteemed industry leaders, distinguished guests, respected faculty, and my dear friends. On behalf of entire SPJIMR family, I, Samita Seth,
And I, Abhishek Mehra,
extend a very warm welcome to each one of you to Samavesh. Samavesh is an annual conclave organized by the students of PGPM. It is a platform where eminent thought leaders from industry and academia meet together to discuss, contemplate, debate, and seek solutions on contemporary issues pertaining to consulting, information management, operations, finance, and marketing.
Thanks, Amita. As tradition goes here at SPJIMR, we always commence any event by a ceremonial lighting of the lamp. I would now like to invite on stage our respected Dean, Dr. Ranjan Banerjee, Chairperson of the PGPM program, Professor Suresh Lalwani. Can we please have a round of applause for them? Thank you so much, sirs.
I now take this opportunity to welcome our reputed guests and panelists for the day. On our esteemed guest list of dignitaries, we have with us Mr. Manish Chandra, the Managing Director at Accenture Strategy, who is also the esteemed keynote speaker for the day.
Mr. Ashish Chandorkar, the Director at Capgemini Consulting.
Mr. Venugopal Ji, the Industry Principal and Head, Manufacturing Process and Domain Consulting Group at Infosys.
Mr. Sanjay Jamle, the Delivery Head for India and Asia Pacific at TCS Digital Enterprise.
Mr. Suresh Ramanan, Managing Principal at ZS Associates. Oh, so he's on his arrival, on his way.
And lastly, Mr. Sridhar Ramanathan, Principal Consultant at PwC, who is also our esteemed moderator for today's session. We thank you all, sir, for gracing us with your presence.
Next on our list, we have Dr. Ranjan Banerjee.
Professor Suresh Lalwani, Chairperson of the PGPM program.
And Professor Prem Chandrani, the Chairperson of International Relations at SPJIMR. Thank you, sirs, for being with us here today.
I would now like to take this opportunity to invite on stage Dr. Ranjan Banerjee to address the audience with a few key insights. Please, sir.
Okay, distinguished guests, faculty, a member of the SPJIMR family, and friends. It's quite interesting that one of the first forums that I chose to address after joining, it's now, for the outsiders, it is now exactly 28 days since I've joined, happens to be a conclave, and that too a consulting conclave, because if you look at my own background, I have some time in pure industry, but I've spent close to 15 years running my own training and consulting firm, which is still running, which has now been handed over to somebody else to run. But just as an example, in the last 2 years, I've worked on a senior level change management initiative across BSF India, a scenario-based strategy exercise for Philips, and a complete innovation process for Vodafone India. So consulting is something I understand. It's something that I've worked intensely with, so it is close to my heart. Second is, I think this forum itself is a great idea, because what do we need to do for business schools to be more relevant? Business schools need to understand what is cutting edge in practice and work with practice to refine it. Parallelly, they need to understand what is cutting edge in academia. And not all that is cutting edge in academia is immediately applicable to practice. So we need to be also the translators who take what is the latest in practice in academia and bring it to practice. And I think this merger and this conversation is where we will create the most value. So having said that, let me talk a little bit more about consulting firms and what I see as the challenge. And you know, we've talked about disruption. We are saying that this is a world of disruption. This is a world where the pace of change is very high. I think the biggest point is that if you look at the domain of consulting firms traditionally, consulting firms have been very good at tools and techniques. And they've been very good at applying tools and techniques. And this is where the traditional MBA has also found the most value, because it is applying tools and techniques to structured problems. When you look at the pace of change today, I believe that the biggest change is that the problems are shifting. So if you take structured problems, you know, a structured problem is how do I reduce my inventory cost? You know, the data is all available, I need to fit a programming model to it, I fit the right model, I show the cost advantage, and it works. An unstructured problem is how do I change my culture? Because the question is, what culture do I want? What is relevant? How do I go about it? Where do I start? So you have a whole continuum of problem solving from structured to completely unstructured. And perhaps more and more of the problems that we will face in the real world will be what I call ill-structured problems, where techniques are important, but two dimensions I think that we need to look at. Being able to frame the problem well is possibly one of the biggest challenges. So problem framing is a big challenge. The second is the nature of the research that we need to do to solve these problems. Questionnaires are useful, but honestly, the multiple choice questionnaire is passé. So the new research techniques of today will have to be deep techniques, they'll have to be immersive techniques, they will have to be techniques which are innovative in themselves. So that is the second kind of level of challenge. Now, why am I framing this? You know, I believe that this is a business school that in many ways is unique in the way it prepares students, and I believe that consulting is one of the professions for which the way we prepare students is uniquely tailored. And I will talk about some things we are already doing, and I will talk about two emphases which we are now talking about within the faculty, which we will be bringing to all our students. So, just as an example, in our program, in addition to a conventional corporate internship, students do a rural NGO internship. Are you all aware of this? Now, what is the benefit? You are suddenly getting into a situation where there are entirely new constraints. You have to empathize with people who are not like you. You have to question a lot of your assumptions. And you learn how to take the tools and techniques that you learn in a structured environment to a completely unstructured environment with a new set of constraints. The second is we have, and there are many elements to this, I will only talk about two. We have a program where our students mentor municipal school students over an extended period of time. Now, what is it that they're learning again? They're learning the art of mentoring, and often we find that when they learn this, they learn more from the students than the other way around. But what we are teaching also, so we are teaching ill-structured problem solving through doing, also uniquely, and I think this is important, because there is an India and there is a Bharat. The growth of tomorrow will have to be driven by both India and Bharat. And I think this is a lacuna in B-school education. Are we creating students who understand Bharat? We are. So, you know, so that's kind of one piece. The second is I'd like to talk about two emphases which we are bringing into the curriculum as a consequence. Today, design thinking is the new buzzword, right? A lot of institutes will talk about doing a course in design thinking. We are also introducing a course in design thinking, but much more important, Dr. Shrikant Datar incidentally mentors us. So he at Harvard. So his design thinking course, we are adding a layer 2 and bringing it in. But much more importantly, we are not talking about design thinking as a course. We are talking about design thinking as a way of life. So we will have a course, but we will embed design thinking into at least 7 or 8 courses. Because what we are trying to do is, can we create MBA students who are not out of their depth when they confront an ill-structured problem? Can we create MBA students who are not out of their depth when they come to rural India? So that, to me, is one kind of thing that we are talking about. We are saying, can we bring ill-structured problem solving as a capability to the MBA community? And that is something that we are doing through all our programs. The second thing, which I think is very interesting, is we do a lot of things around non-classroom learning, which I have spoken to you about. And why is that non-classroom learning important? I think at two levels. There is knowledge. Knowledge says, here is the theory of how to motivate people. Skill, which says it's not enough to be able to motivate people to know what the theory is, because you have to go and talk to people. You have to have conversations, and people have to tell you what their issues are. So for that, you need skills. You need communication skills. You need listening skills. You need all of that. The third is, people don't want to talk to you until you are fundamentally a good human being. So we need to teach you attitude. Attitude cannot always be taught, but one, we recruit for attitude. So our recruitment processes are unique. We use group recruitment processes, and we use a lot of innovation on that side. So we look for these three. Now, we are combining these into something. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. There is research on the growth mindset. So this is research by a lady called Carol Dweck, where essentially she takes a group of students, and she gives them a maths problem to solve. And half the students, she tells them, and it's an easy problem, right? So they all solve it. Half the students, she tells them, oh, you solved the problem. You must be really good at math. The other half, she says, oh, you solved the problem. You must have worked very hard. So she primes ability and she primes effort. Now, when you go back to those same students and you give them a difficult set of problems to solve, and you find out who gives up first, the people who are told that you have a lot of ability, they give up first. So it's a very important point. There is one mindset who says that there is something called ability or talent, and it's fixed. And the problem with that mindset is that if you've been a talented, successful student all your life, then you encounter an unstructured situation in the real world and you throw your hands up because it's a threat to your ability and your self-image. While if you were told that ability is like a muscle, it can be grown, and the way you grow it is by putting yourself in challenging situations and stretching your ability, then we are equipping you with a life skill. This is the growth mindset. So these are the two differentiators that we are going to build into our program. We already have the program elements in place. I believe these are critical consulting competencies. Because the big thing for a consultant is you have to go in and understand with a fresh eye. And then once you have understood deeply with a fresh eye, that is when your tools and techniques come in. Also, the human skills are very important. There are all these old jokes about consultants, but the point is that I think the big one in consulting is you have to combine great intelligence, because profession requires intelligence, with humility, the willingness to learn, and the ability to get people to talk to you. I think we are trying to teach these. With that, I will hand over to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for commencing the event and setting the tone for us all. We are truly privileged to have you inaugurate this. Thank you.
Before I proceed, let us hear for our guest, Mr. Suresh Ramanan, Managing Principal at ZS Associates, who's just joined us.
Thank you. Welcome, sir.
I would now like to call upon Professor Suresh Lalwani to address the audience.
Esteemed guests, Dr. Ranjan Banerjee, Professor Prem Chandrani, my esteemed colleagues in the faculty, the PGPM team and all other administrative staff, and my dear students. Good morning and a warm welcome to all of you at the inaugural session of Samavesh 2015. It is my privilege to have you all here on this occasion, which is proudly hosted by participants of the postgraduate program in management, that is the PGPM program, at SPJIMR Institute of Management and Research. Our institute ranks amongst the top 5 business schools in the country. And this is the result of our pioneering program, the way we've designed our program over the years, the way we've innovated, the way we've constantly improvised. And it's based on our organizational philosophy of influencing practice and promoting value-based growth. Everything that we do at the Institute revolves around these key philosophies. We take pride in having a unique learning model, which is widely acclaimed and which not only emphasizes on the enhancement of one's own capabilities, but also on being sensitized to social needs, as Dr. Ranjan had mentioned earlier. The Institute today offers a variety of programs under its umbrella, catering to different corporate needs. I'll be very brief, just a bit on Samavesh. Here, we endeavor to make the event bigger and better year after year by engaging not only just the PGPM program participants, but participants across the Institute in different programs, whether it is the PGDM, the 2-year program, whether it is the PGEMP or the Executive Management Program, and other programs at the Institute. And we at SPJIMR Institute have resolved to transform Samavesh into a platform that facilitates intense participant learning, allows a seamless transfer of knowledge and skills across business and academia, and emerges as a thought leader that facilitates and stimulates path-breaking business ideas and triggers the imagination of our students. On this brief note, I hand over the dais to our esteemed guests and to our future leaders who will take forward this program. Thank you.
Samita and I would now like to give you some insight on our prestigious institution and the PGPM course in general. SPJIMR, a constituent unit of Bharati Vidya Bhavan, was established back in 1981. Lalwani sir has already mentioned the philosophical pillars that have formed the foundation of our prestigious institution. Our program is AICTE approved. It's a 1-year full-time residential program aimed at accelerating the careers of our participants by leveraging on their robust experience. Aside from the AICTE accreditation, it also carries an accreditation from AMBA in UK and has credits that span over 3 months of blended learning and 1 year at the campus.
We at SPJIMR believe that industry needs competent resources, just as Sir said, at lateral levels to take care of both scale and differentiation. The program has a good mix of knowing, being, and doing. Relevance to business is the focal point of our entire program design and flow. The architecture caters to the needs of growing business complexities, environmental changes, people issues, and attitudes, while keeping in mind the limitations of models and markets.
A small mention about our batch, many of whom are here today. Our 11th batch has distinctive characteristics that lend immense depth and breadth, expertise and potential. With nearly 140 applicants of average age of 29 years, we come from 70 different companies spanning 12 sectors across the globe, an average work experience of 7 years, an international average work experience of 1.9 years, in sectors including marketing, finance, operations, information management, and consulting. This inherent diversity bears the added benefit of classroom-rich peer learning and makes discussion stimulating and insightful.
We would now like to take you through a quick video on PGPM.
entrepreneurs. Period. The mavericks who persevere with a burning passion, who take risks and transform failure into fuel with undying tenacity. Globally, we see a rise in new entrepreneurs, the rise in new ideas by technology, grasping the power of social media and smart devices. We connect the future and the now.
Muscle shift from offline to online, digitization. And it's the most significant transformation of our time. And at the pace we're going, soon all the media we consume will be digital. Media has digitized. Your consumer has digitized. And your business is next.
That was a superb show. Can we hear for our creative team at PGPM? The in-house creative team did this all. With this, I would also like to felicitate Mr. Suresh Ramanan, who joined us.